Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is David. I talk about stuff that I want to analyze, mostly writing, and I've been doing a series on reacting to, listening to, theorizing, rambling about the horror podcast, The Magnus Protocol, written mostly by the Rusty Quill crew, consisting of Jonathan Sims and Alexander J. Newell. I've already made videos talking about episodes 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8. And right now, this is going to be the start of the next 4 episodes of the show, episodes 9 through 12. I think 4 sets is what makes most sense in my mind. Kind of very, very similar to the Magic Tree House. You guys remember that? Yeah. I'm also going to be a little bit candid here. I'm upgrading some stuff, trying to make this channel a lot more easier to film or a bit more prettier to look at. I got a tripod now. It's a little flimsy, but it works because now I can stand and talk and I can be against my wall of maps. Can you see? There you go. Okay. And this is a microphone that I've been borrowing. Oh God, I have to crouch now? This is a microphone that I have to borrow from my roommate. I will eventually get a better one that I don't have to have it wired to my phone. Hopefully during the hiatus between episodes 10 and 11, maybe, I don't know. We're going on a bit. We're expanding. We're changing. We're making things better. Anyways, episode 9. I'm talking about episode 9 right now. These videos I will be making as the episodes go on because I want to avoid the dissemination of information that one would get from watching the show along with the fandom. I want to watch this. I want to listen to this show on my own accord by generating my own ideas and generating my own theories. And obviously, I'll still interact with the fandom. I think the fandom has great theories and has great ideas and helps me think of stuff. But I want this to be like my own thoughts before they get changed or reviewed or supported by the fandom. So it's just the raw sort of thoughts. This is my notebook, which I keep track of my notes. It has stickers now. Stickers. This is Dimension 20. Shout out to Dimension 20 as well. Right now it'll just be episode 9, and then we'll talk about episode 10. And somehow I hurt my knee just standing up, so I'm just gonna adjust this here so I don't have to fucking crouch. It's a process. Every episode will be me just reviewing the episode quickly, hopefully quickly, and talking about the ideas and stuff that comes about. I do know that I don't know how accurate, how true it is, but I heard that there is going to be a hiatus between episodes 10 and 11, which kind of messes up with my schedule and things. And I was thinking, should I just do episodes 9 and 10? But no, I feel like 4 episodes are the best. I don't know how long each season's going to be, and I feel like if it ends, most likely it could end in a multiple of 4, such as the OG, the Magnus Archives, which is the original series that this is a sequel for. If it's not a multiple of 4 and it's a multiple of 2, that's not a multiple of 4, then oh well. I'm gonna do multiples of 4, just like the Magic Tree House. If the camera keeps adjusting, it's because I keep adjusting it because I need to stand. Last time it was shorter, so you could see this map here of Kartakas. I hurt my knee. So let's get into it. Episode 9, rolling with it. The code is CAT3RB3354-1410998-080322024. Again, thinking that the three or four characters after CAT means something, and then the TPHW of the 4 letters means something else. We're going to keep going with that until further proven false. 3RB is dice, parentheses, bone, and 3354 is fate. I don't know if I mentioned it before. Like, I keep remembering things that I should have mentioned prior, but that's fine. In the episode descriptions, they have that sort of like, it's the catalog and the subcategory, the category, the subcategory. But the category has like a parentheses to it, sort of like the category, subcategory, and then the DPHW is the subcategory. Which I'm going to run with until proven otherwise. 3RB, we haven't had a 3RB prior, but we had a 2RB before. I know that for sure. We've had a 2RC. Yeah, 2RB is disappearance, parentheses, undetermined. And I know there's another one, but they want to kill me by making these codes weird, but whatever. The date of the event of this story occurs October 14th, 1998, and the catalog was March 8th, 2024. The authors are Alexander J. Newell and Jonathan Sims, same people as before. This aired March 7th, 2024. Unfortunately, it is March later than that. I don't know the date right now. Instead of doing a to remember statement now, because I used to do to remember statement, like a little statement to be like, oh yeah, this episode was this. I'm just going to change it to just a brief summary, which also probably won't accomplish much, but that's still enough to be like, okay, what happened this episode? Oh yeah, this happened. So the brief summary here is Evil Dice and Sam's plan. The possible entity is the end. Again, moving forward with the idea that the Smirks 1415 are in this universe until proven otherwise, just like the American justice system. Party. So scene 1 begins with Celia and Sam talking about response department 121, and Sam's sort of like filling out the documents. He refuses to give up on filling them out. And he says that they, like the documents themselves, asked to list stuff. Like, I forget what episode was it prior that he was filling it out, and it asked him to fill out his last 7 addresses, and he was like, I don't even have that. So, yeah, nothing came out of that. I knew this was gonna come back until, but I was like, I don't know when that was, and then I forgot about it until it came back this episode, which is great. Here we go. Episode 5, personal screening. He is filling out the response department 121. The transcript writes it 1-TO-1, so 1-2-1. But prior it was 1-2-1. So I'm going to keep it with 1-2-1 because it makes more sense for a department sort of thing, besides like instead of like a 1 to another 1. I don't know. Transcripts are weird. The next episode that mentions a response department, I'll follow what the transcript does. But because I've had 2 different options, I'm going to go with the number 1 because that makes more sense to me. But I'm just going to see what the next episodes say about that. And yeah, in episode 5, personal screening, it asks him to list his last 7 addresses, and in this episode, it asks him various different things, such as 4 negative memories associated with a dead creature that you saw, like roadkill or something like that. I think no, it's 4 negative memories that you have, and then every animal that you saw that was dead. That's it. And then also how many blood transfusions, and also just the question why. Oh, why? Why? And Celia's like reading, and she's like, I don't know why. And he's like, I don't know why, but I'm still filling it out because I'm stubborn, and I support that, Sam. Celia tells him she can't really find anything else about the Magnus Institute, and he's like, that's fine. I can't. It's a dead end. Might as well just leave it. Because if you remember this was episode yeah, episode 4, Sam finds something that like mentions the Magnus Institute and the Magnus like a protocol, and so he's probably like researching that. He can't get it out of his head, which feels very similar to when John was delving into statements and trying to figure out what was real, what was not in season 1 and 2. It feels very similar to that, but less obsessive in a way. I don't know. Like Sam's definitely doing it because he's interested, but he doesn't feel paranoid about it. Versus John is like, I'm gonna, if I don't find this, I'm gonna die. Because there's a mystery of Gertrude's death and everything. He's just trying to make sure it all makes sense to him at least. But Sam's just kind of curious about it. And once he was like, I don't know really about it. I'll just try to do stuff, and we'll see later what he's going to do next. Anyways, and Sam presses a button, and Chester/John begins to read out a statement, and it is an actual like document statement from the Magnus Institute in Manchester for artifact CD-137. And it lists viability as subject, agent, and catalyst, being none, low, medium, and respectively. I'll get to what I think about that at the end. And it is also recommended referral to catalytics for enrichment applicability assessment. Great, that's great, I guess. And then it's an actual statement, such as like almost exactly the type of statement you would get from seasons 1 through 4 of the Magnus Archive. Of like someone comes into the Magnus Institute in London, but now it's Manchester, and they tell about something creepy that happened to them, and so it's a guy. We don't get his name. I'm gonna call him Dice Guy. In my notes, did I call him that? Actually, that's a good question. I called him Dice Man. Dice Man. In the characters, he's invited by Gary, who's also in this. In my characters list, Gary invites him to play advanced D&D, which I forget when it came out. Like this started with I think it was 81. I think I saw. I might be wrong. This is when it actually came out. Advanced D&D. I love playing D&D. These are all D&D maps. I should talk about D&D in this channel. What should I talk about in D&D's channel? Tell me in the comments. Tell me what to talk about about D&D in this channel, because I have a lot. I love D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Anyways, he shows up. I didn't write this in notes, but he shows up at Gary's place, and Gary's just a mess. Like there's blood stains on the dried blood stains on the wall. His speaker system's like wet and something else. And when I was first listening to this, I was like, the dark, because he walks in and like it stinks or something. One of the light bulbs is turned off. There's water, black murky water on his sound system. I was like, oh, it's dark. It's something with the dark, and I was like really excited about that. But no, it's not. But you know, the dark motifs are there at least to begin with. But Gary's like, do you have your dice? And Dice Man is like, is it one of those weird dice? But like, listen, do not disrespect a D&D player's obsession. Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure you can still hear me like this, but hold on. This isn't all of them. I still have like 3 sets in my dice bag that I'm using for D&D right now. And I've seen worse. My roommate has so much more. Anyways, he asks if... I shouldn't talk while I'm off screen. He asks if Diceman has any of the dice, and Diceman's like, you know, those weird dice? No, I don't. Do I need them? And Gary's like, you only need 2d6. And it's funny because when the transcript, it like phonetically writes out 2d, spelled D-E-E, and then 6. And I'm like, yes, that's true. Also, most people would just write 2, the letter D, and then 6. Most people who play D&D, such as me. Anyways, I'm a nerd, guys. And so he says you only need 2d6. But the way that Johnny reads them out, it's like 2d6. And I'm like, great, sure. He gives him 2d6. I feel heavy. I forget. I think they were colored, like, dark or something like that. I didn't really pay attention to that, but they were heavy when he hands them. And then Gary gets a call and he like cancels D&D and they just leave. Which Diceman was like all for because he didn't really care about playing in the first place, which is like rude. And so Diceman now has these 2D dice, and he says that he says that like the moment that he touched them, he felt like they were his or something like that, like he was given them, and that's something that makes that matters in a way. And he starts rolling them, and good stuff and bad stuff begin to happen depending on the rolls. Like with every roll, good or bad stuff happens. There's moments where he talks about like if you roll really low, really bad stuff happens, and automatically I thought, oh, when you roll a snake eyes, like bad stuff happens, like you might like bad luck or whatever. And every time he mentions a really low roll, there's like a sound cue of like snake rattle.
But when they rolled low, when you could see the misfortune dropping over them like a shadow, or better yet, when they rolled real low, you could be certain that the next throw would be a good one. There was a dark joy to that, I'll admit.
In the background, it's kind of faint, but you can hear it, and it sounds like a snake rattle, but it could also be dice rattling around, such as in the dice box that I showed you. So it works dual ways, especially because we already have the idea of snake eyes in our minds, that we hear that it could be dice, it could be snake battle, which was really fun. And then he also says he starts dressing the role like in a coat and a hat and stuff like that. I read on Tumblr, I did read something on Tumblr that was like, listen, if I had dice that were this unlucky or whatever, I would also start dressing like a wizard. But yeah. And he's making other people roll the dice to get good luck for himself. Like he goes up to someone and he's like, he rolled this dice, and if they roll bad, really bad, he rolls them next, so he gets good stuff. And if he goes up to someone and they roll really good, he has to keep going. He keeps doing that basically because he wants to get as much good luck as possible and have someone else have the bad luck upon them. Bad luck upon ye, dice. And so at one point he meets up with Gary, and Gary, I think he looks better or something like that, or he looks less depressed, or even more depressed, I forget exactly. And he gives him the dice, and he's like, you roll them. And then he rolls, and he gets snake eyes, which the dice man says no one's ever got snake eyes, which I call bull, because dice, I guess these are evil dice. Like actual dice, it's, what is it? 1 out of 36 chance to get snake eyes, right? 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6, because they're independent. So it's 1, 6 times 6 is 36. I believe that's correct. It's it's a 1 out of 36 chance to get snake eyes, and that totals up to, hold on, I have to get my calculator for this. I can't do that kind of math in my head. Thank you. You're so helpful. There you go. That's a 2.78% chance. However, if you do it enough times, you're gonna get it. You know, like, that's how probability works. I get that it's evil. I get that, like, that would never have happened or whatever. I don't know. It's just, the chances are there, and that no one has done it, considering he seems like he's done it a lot of times. It just, that's, I don't know. You know what I mean? Anyways, they're evil dice. Dice are evil. Evil dice are evil. So maybe probability is like skewed in a way. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't like math. I do like math. That's a lie. I don't like probability. That's it. Anyways, Gary gets snake eyes, which has never happened before, allegedly. And Gary gets run over by a bus and dies. And the way that it's described is that Dice Man is like, I hope that he died in the first like impact or whatever, because like the bricks came and tore off his jaw, and then he gets crushed by the grill, and then something else I forget. And the way that it's described is very similar to like the deaths that were described in Magnus Archives episode 70 Book of the Dead, and it like that feels very, very similar to, you know, the end stuff. But anyways, And so Gary dies. He's practically killed by Dice Man. I would count this as Dice Man killed him if I was doing a kill count for the Magnus protocol, which I will do once this series ends, or per season. I don't know. Anyways, and so the guy finishes up his statement with the Magnus Institute, and he's like, "Yeah, don't touch the dice. It's sad to give them away, and I know what happens when you give them away, but oh well." And then he looks at them, and he's like, let me just one more roll. Just one more roll. And he rolls them. And he's implied to roll snake eyes because he says, just let me roll once. It ends and it cuts and it says that the statement is interrupted and that the subject, the Dice Man, name not given, was declared dead by paramedics on scene. So it's heavily implied that he rolled snake eyes. Something happened and he died. What happened? I do not know. But that's part of the horror of it, you know. What could have happened in such a contained setting such as that that he dies, which is pretty fun. Scene 2 begins, and Lena sends Gwen to speak to a Nigel Dickerson to give an envelope and to observe his reaction to the envelope. And Gwen is like, you know, Nigel Dickerson, the famous TV star? ? And Lena's like, I don't know, I don't watch TV, which I feel is like a full cop out, like. Lena, you know. Lena knows who Nigel Dickerson is. And she says that it's sort of like trying to like an audition or like first attempt to do something or whatever for Gwen, and that's definitely like means something. Gwen is probably learning about like avatars and stuff like that, so he's probably someone either an avatar or preyed on by one of the fears or has a statement to give to the OIAR or something like that. I don't know. We don't know yet. Gwen does not know, and we are more or less in Gwen's POV versus Lena's because we know as much as she does at this point. So we shall see if Nigel Dickerson comes back. I did put him in the actual characters. No, I didn't. I forgot to put him in the... I'll put him soon. In the actual characters, AR team and outside, Nigel Dickerson, who is a famous TV star, and then we will eventually see, you know, what else is for him, about him. And in scene 3, Alice meets with Teddy, who you remember Teddy in the first episode, who was he quit. I think he quit. Yeah, he quit from the OIR. He's leaving it. And he's meeting with Alice at a bar. I'm pretty sure it's the same bar that they always go to, because it's close by or whatever. And they're like talking, and Alice is very cagey about like their current situation, and she's like, yeah, "It's nice." And Teddy's like, "I've never heard you say something as nice. I've heard you say a bunch of other things, but not nice." And she's like, "Well, I don't know." And then she talks about Celia, and he's like, "Oh, you're jealous of Sam and Celia." And she's like, "No, why would I do? Why?" And they also mentioned they've been like. Sam and Alice were together for a long time, and Teddy knew about it as well. Also, Teddy was just let go of his new job. The new job that he was going to go to from the OIR was going to downsize, but the hiring department didn't know that, which is lack of communication between departments, between managers. Sounds very real. And then Sam arrives, and Teddy leaves, and he gives him his beer or whatever. And Sam thinks Alice and Teddy are together, and Alice is like, "Why is everyone thinking about this? Everyone shut up. This is not the office drama you guys want to be." Which it is. It is the office drama we want to be. And then Sam asks Alice to visit the Magnus Institute ruins with him. And she's like, "Why don't you ask Celia?" And he's like, "I don't think we're at that level yet." And Alice is like, "But we are." And Sam is like, "I mean, we used to." And so I'm assuming next episode is going to be partially a statement, partially Sam and Alice in the Magnus Institute ruins, or all entirely within the Magnus Institute ruins, which would be a great change of pace for this season so far, considering in the Magnus archives, the first change of pace happened in episode 13 alone when a second voice actor came in, Naomi Hearn. Either way, we shall see what happens next episode in a few days. So notes, response department 121 asking for secrets probably is like John slash the Eye, and I feel like they're trying to scrape up enough eye fear to grow in strength in some way, because for me all the questions are scary, like negative emotions, dead animals, what else was it, last addresses, blood transfusions. Like there's something a little like creepy about it, and they're all pretty personal as well. Which the Eye delves into like personal stuff, so that is something to they would probably want to consume to be like what is this? Statement, research, assessment. The statement. So the document for the artifact of the dice. It says it is a statement and research assessment. So to me, that means they're trying to find something. So the statement is, of course, what happens, and then research assessment. That is, they're testing something out. They're like reading it out. They're like, what does this attach to? What are we trying to find here? That is really interesting. And then it says viability as subject, agent, and catalyst. And so for me, if they're investigating stuff, then viability as subject is probably a manifestation of the fears, possibly like a monster like the Not Sasha, the Not Them, the anglerfish, the Wheel of Faces. I don't know. I can only think of the stranger monsters. The distortion. What other monsters? The pig, the flesh pig, agape, the corruption dog, stuff like that. Like monsters that are part of the fears. The still nightless beast from the dark, stuff like that. An agent, I would assume to be some sort of an avatar. So like my crew, Jude Perry, etc. People who are agents of the fears and do stuff for them. And Catalyst is probably an artifact, such as the web table or the Calliope. And so they list it as like, for the dice, it's subject, no, so it's not a monster, or like a manifestation of the fear in and of itself. An agent, low, so it's kind of the idea of like it could be something that an avatar has. I mean, at some point, the Dice Man is an unwilling avatar of the end. And the Catalyst is medium, so like the thing that causes fear in a way, like an artifact, is labeled medium, which has a higher sort of thing because it's not actively doing anything. You have to do stuff with it to be able to do stuff. Like other artifacts just happen to do like stuff passively, such as the web table, like holding something. So I guess it's sort of medium, sort of like you have to do something with it versus like it is just there to do stuff, such as like probably like a high catalyst viability would be like the Dark Star or something like that. Like an actual dangerous object that if you look at it, touch it, feel it, you will have something bad happen to you. The coffin. So that's my idea, what I think that means. That's what they're, so because of that, also, it's sent to the Catalytics for Enrichment Applicability Assessment, which catalytics means an action of a catalyst. Since the dice were labeled as viability as catalyst medium, they probably sent it to the Catalysts for Enrichment Applicability Assessment, which enrichment is probably like learning. So they're trying to make avatars is what I'm trying to connect to. We're trying to learn about them, because if they're going to use this dice to learn about something, enrichment, applicability assessment, probably learning, see if this can teach something or another. If you can create avatars. Are they creating avatars? I do not know. I do not know why they would do such a thing. But it's still like that, like just those few lines is a lot to take in, and I love that. I love that they're sprinkling this little thing and be like, okay, we're gonna make this more insane, and I love that. And so AD&D mentioned, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. I have to ask my friends what they think about Advanced Dungeons & Dragons because I don't really know much about it. I know it's precursor, and it was like a much better one. I feel like it is a version of, because right now we're in 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and we had 4th edition, which was really bad. 3.5 edition, which was really good. That's the one with use rope. I feel like this one's prior to that, but I don't know. I have to ask my friends. They know a bit more about D&D, about like older D&D. But yeah, I like that they mentioned that, and that Johnny Sins knows about D&D. We already knew that. He knew about D&D. But it's really fun to be actually incorporating it in here. This feels very Final Destination-y. I mean, like the death of Gary is practically the same as the end of Final Destination 3, I think? No, 2? I didn't watch these. I watched the kill count, so I didn't watch the movies. I just watched the recap of the movies from the kill count channel, which I've talked a lot about that channel right now before. But at the end of one of them, one of the Final Destination movies, the 3 remaining survivors are in like a cafe, and just as the movie begins to end, a truck crashes through the cafe, and they're all killed. And the way that they're shown to be killed is through like X-rays and like blueprints as the credits are rolling, which is a really fun way to show how they're dying. Like one of them gets like crushed by a wheel, the other one gets their head smashed by the grill, and so it's very similar to that, at least. And so I think that this statement is connected to the end for many reasons, because the end is connected to games of chance, such as episode 29, Cheating Death. We have Nathaniel Thorpe, who talks about him escaping from a war, and he meets up with this guy who wants to play a game of chance, and he ends up turning into an avatar of the end unwillingly, and she has to go around playing games of chance with other people, and if they lose, they die. If they win, they become one of them. So that's very similar to what happens with the Dice Man. In episode 43, section 31, Basiro's talking about different things that have happened before. In section 31, she mentioned there was this person in this apartment that had tried to like off themselves multiple times, that she and Daisy investigate, and when they go into their apartment, it's just full of game pieces in like glass boxes, so very like trophy wise, and that's connected to the end. And then episode 64, I cannot say that word, burial rites. That's so hard to say. The undead mummy has a bunch of dice made of bone in the coffin. And so that is definitely like connected to the end. So like this episode is very, very end coded if the end is one of the fears in the world. So Lena's sending Gwen to people to get them to react, getting them to a location. She says that this envelope that she gives to Gwen is an envelope, has a name and an address, and I don't know if that means that the envelope has the name Nigel Dickerson and the address of Nigel Dickerson, or inside the envelope is a name and address, such as what Sam got from John email before. I don't know. We don't know. The wording was kind of weird about that. And then we got a teddy bag. I want a teddy bag. I liked his voice actor a lot, and I like him. I hope he comes back. Not so much as a employee, but someone who's like hanging around and with Alice and stuff. Probably gets killed accidentally, and Alice has to like figure out. And maybe that's why Alice gets a little like into it. I don't know. I don't want to fridge him, but that's the only idea that I can have besides him joining the OIAR again. But yeah, that was episode 9. There is going to be a hiatus between episodes 10 and 11, which means this video that I'm going to put out is not going to come out until very, very much later. So hopefully it'll move quickly enough that I won't have to put out only two episode videos, and we'll see how everything turns out. I will see you back here for episode 10 of the Magnus Protocol. Oh, Jesus. Shut up. Hello, and welcome to the second part of my video talking about the episodes of the Magnus Protocol. This is episode 10. We're gonna switch up the position here. I'm gonna flip it. Where I'm not gonna actually flip it because I think it'd look weird. I don't know if I flip it. Well, I'll see. If I flip it, you can read the text here. You can also probably read the titles on my books. I wanted to highlight my books here and some things that I have on display. Hello. This is where my, what's it called? The air freshener that keeps going off that's where it is in my room right now. And so I also wanted to block the glare from my lights on my TV. So I might flip this actually. I don't know. We'll see once I start editing how weird I look. And I'll prioritize what I look like versus what you can read. But anyways, this is the 10th episode of the Magnus Protocol. We have episode 10, Saturday Night. CAT1RB 2275-060820021-09032024. 1RB was already mentioned before. I know it has been, and 1RB was listed in episode 6 introductions for for needles. 1RB there is injuries needles, and 1RB here is mascot parentheses kids. So I don't know what they mean, like I keep saying. So we're just gonna keep going with it. But 2275 is murder, at least, hopefully, the DPHW. We still don't know what the DPHW means. Hopefully soon we'll get some more confirmation on that. But either way, the statement, the interview that is shown happened on August 6th, 2021. I believe it was 20 years ago that they said that this all started. So 2001. I was thinking, oh my god, 20 years ago, that's so long ago. And then I did the math in my head just now, and I said 2001. I was born in 2000. So, and this happened. This was cataloged March 9th, 2024. The author was Jonathan Sims. This aired March 14th, 2023. The brief summary is Mr. Bonzo and Sam and Alice at the ruins. The possible entities, are either Stranger or Slaughter. And also, I'm putting in the I for the error for now. I will talk about that. I'm very much likely wrong about that, but still, I put it there. So we begin this scene with Nigel Dickerson being interviewed by Geraldine Hardy about his show that he hosted Saturdays on 6, also acronymed SOS. In the transcript, I don't think I wrote it down anywhere else here, but it was definitely transcript a lot. It was acronymed a lot as SOS, which I feel is a little jokey, being SOS being like a signal for like help and stuff like that. Nigel Dickerson, of course, was the person mentioned last episode 9, that Lena gave Gwen a envelope, and she said that has a name and address on it, and take it to Nigel Dickerson. I want you to observe his exact reaction, the people that he's with, and that happened last episode. And so here, like when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my god, Nigel Dickerson, this is really nice. This is getting right into it, you know. So I can add Nigel Dickerson's voice actor into the episode 9 picture, Steve Newman, who is Nigel Dickerson being a disgraced TV host of Saturdays on 6. I keep wanting to say Saturday Night Live. And he created Mr. Bonzo. And on the characters in the statements, I'm going to add Geraldine Hardy, whose voice actress is Catherine Luffy, who's a TV host. She's cheery and a hard-hitting journalist. I'm also adding, right now, I'll just say right now, I'm adding Gotthard Rambo. I'll talk about him in a little bit. He's not very consequential. He's a famous chef. And so Geraldine's doing this interview with Nigel, and it seems like they've known each other before. She's like, it's been a while since I've seen you. He's like, I've been keeping busy or whatever. And so she's asking, how did this all start? And he talks about how it all began and like how he started. Describes the inception of the show. I didn't write it down, but it was something about like he was the host and he was making funny stuff, and he was held captive by Mr. Six, who is the fictional head of Channel 6 or something like that. And he had to do like weird stuff for kids. And he created Mr. Bonzo along with, I also didn't write this guy down, his producer named Rich. I don't get anything about him. We don't see him in the story in a sense, so I didn't write him down. He's just a guy named Rich, the producer, whatever. He and Nigel created Mr. Bonzo as a prank. They would invite like famous people, and they would prank them and say, "You got buried." When I was listening to this and I heard them say, "You got buried," I thought it was buried, like underground, like the buried. And I got so scared, and then I kept listening, and then they got a raspberry trophy, and I was like, oh, buried. Berries. But whatever. They invite famous people to get pranked. And they described Mr. Bonzo's, the mascot's, like, costume suit. Big, bulbous, and splotchy. Grody. I keep thinking of I cannot help but to think of that one British mascot that's like pink and yellow. I only know about him because of RuPaul's Drag Race UK season 4. Because 2 contestants wore something inspired by that by that mascot on that competition. So I remember its name, but it looks like this, and it has a really demonic voice. And that's the only thing I can think of when I think of Mr. Bonzo. But yeah, so also Nigel mentions that he cannot remember where he got the name from. He knows that it wasn't him and it wasn't Rich, and someone must have said it and it must have stuck. And so they invite Godred Rombar, who's a famous chef, like I said before, with Bonzo. He's like really scared of Mr. Bonzo when he arrives. Like they tell him like, hey, this is a really beloved children's thing, and you have to act with it for the children, and he's like really scared, really afraid of it, which is funny for the kids to see, and it gets to the point where he even breaks the person who's in the suit's hand. And that's when they like get him the trophy, and they're like, haha, you got pranked, haha, and they like probably like whisked Mr. Bonzo away to be like, oh my god, let's get you to a hospital. And it became like this running gag, this thing that like became more like people focused on Mr. Bonzo a lot. They did away with Mr. Six and like eventually the like pranks died out themselves, and he just became a mascot for the show in and of itself. They mention a Terrence Menke, who I also added onto the statements, who statement characters, which is now going on to another page. I am running out of space. Eventually I will have to start, like, look, this is episode 10, the OIR and outside, like, names. All I have left, and then this is the statement characters, and this is where they end. I have 1 page left, and then I have the first episode of notes here. So I'm running out of space, but that is, I mean, I'll just start like deeper into the notebook, which is fine by me. Either way, yes, Terrence Menke, who was a serial killer. Who had killed 11 bodies. They said they found 11 bodies. And that he was arrested / found wearing a homemade costume of Mr. Bonzo. And now, Nigel says like, oh my, he had like so many other costumes, and he just happened to have been wearing his homemade Bonzo costume when he got arrested. And so, because of that, they called him the Bonzo Butcher, and that really hurt the brand. But also made Bonzo like a meme. They also like stopped production of SOS and stuff like that, and so it really hurt Nigel's career for this guy to be killing people. So sad, so sad. Um, and then Geraldine asks him about a rumor, and he's like, "What would you talk? What are you talking? We didn't agree to this. We didn't agree to this conversation." And she talks about rumor about 3 murders over the past 5 years of people like claiming that they saw someone wearing a Bonzo costume. I also keep wanting. Well, when I was writing notes, I kept thinking I would write Bonzo, but I kept also thinking of a different mascot that also starts with a B that is more famous, and I literally just forgot who I was thinking of. But it's not Berkeley. What was it? Ugh, whatever. I'll remember eventually. Either way, Bonzo. They claim it was someone wearing a Bonzo costume, and he gets angry. Nigel gets angry. He says, "Don't contact us again." And Geraldine is like, "Us?" And he gets like angry and stuff, and he asks, why is he trapped? Why him? Quote, "Why won't he let me go?" And the interview ends there. And then in the next scene, scene 2, Celia catalogs the recording, and she's like, "Okay," and then leaves. She doesn't know how important that interview was. But yeah, she like finishes recording. Colin arrives. Colin, who was gone for a while, who shows up. And he's like, "Where's everyone else? I wanted Alice's thoughts." And she was like, "They're away right now." He's like, "Okay, great." He was on leave. He spoke to 3 different therapists, and he just sounds tired. Like the transcript makes a point to just say that he sounds tired, not angry, which is a big difference between what he was prior and what he was now. Everyone else is out, so Colin begins working on like the terminals, and he basically tells Celia, "I was never here." He tells her like it's easier to work on terminals without them, and do not tell Lena that I was here. And Celia was like, "Okay." And then the scene transitions to Alice and Sam inside the Magnus Institute ruins. I do want to mention, I don't really talk about it before. Maybe I don't. I actually don't remember if I've talked about this before or not. But like, there are moments where it seems like what we're listening to obviously is either from the computer or from someone's phone. And so here it sounds like it's from someone's phone. And so they have this like really interesting like voice modulation, I think is what they call it. Voice modulation, where her voice sounds normal. But Sam's voice, assuming this is Sam's phone, sounds not muffled, but you can feel it vibrating. I don't know. It conveys that the phone is up close to Sam's body, and so that like communicates that sort of like feeling. If that makes sense. Like you can hear the difference between Alice speaking and Sam speaking. There's like to me it sounds like a vibration inside on his voice, like a muffling of some form, because of how close he is to the phone on his body. Either way, that's when they're in the institute. He tries opening a filing cabinet and just finds mulch. They are like arguing. They're like, Alice wants to leave, Sam wants to keep looking. They mention a carved floor and an atrium. An atrium is an open-roofed entrance hall or central court in an ancient Roman house. A central hall in a modern building, typically rising through several stories and having a glazed roof. The forecourt of a large church built on a basilica plan. Each of the 2 upper cavities of the heart from which blood is passed from ventricles. Yeah, that I forgot. That I know about that atrium. So it seems like an entrance of some sort, and so it was like a carved floor in an atrium. Does that mean like it was built like that, or was it carved into the atrium? They don't describe anything like that. If that's supposed to mean something to me, it doesn't yet. That's fine. And then he finds a key. Sam finds a key. He's like, I remember there was a scene in Supernatural where Sam and Dean are transported to an alternate reality where they are Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles, respectively, Sam and Dean, and they have to pretend to act so that they can go back to their real world, and Cass's actor, oh my god. Cass's actor is there, and and he has to and Jared Padalecki, as Sam, trying to act as Jared Padalecki, has to read a line, and he says, if there's a key, then there's a lock. And I just remember that a lot. So that's what I thought they were going to say that exact same thing, but no, they go on to this weird thing of like, oh, there's a stinky gym bag hiding somewhere. And I'm like, come on, guys. It's right there. The supernatural joke is right there, but whatever. Scene transitions into Gwen arriving at Nigel's house. He invites her in. I didn't write it down, but it says, but she mentions the OIAR, and he's like, the what? Huh? Come in. And so she has like this envelope, and she's like, here's your envelope. And he's like, that's not for me. And she's like, what do you mean? He says, I'm sorry about this. And then you hear wet, pounding, lumbering steps as music begins to play. The same music that played at the beginning of the episode, which was a song that was charting at the top of the charts. Is that what you say? Whatever. Which I don't care to mention because it's non-consequential right now. But it's Mr. Bonzo climbing down the stairs. And he's just repeating it, Bonzo, but it was so distorted I could barely understand what he was saying. And Nigel says, don't stare at him. He doesn't like to be stared at. He doesn't like to be looked at. And Gwen is like panicking. She's worried. And she gives an envelope to Bonzo, who eats it and leaves. The transcript basically says, also says, his teeth are not soft, which is great. That's great imagery. Thank you. Thank you. And then Nigel says, tell the OIAR, you're welcome again. And that's when that ends. We don't get like a reaction from Gwen besides her being like, what the fuck was that? She also says, is someone in there? So that's great. And then scene 5 begins and a tape recorder clicks on. Now, I unfortunately read a little bit of spoilers, and so I knew that there was going to be a tape recorder happening in this episode. So I was looking out for it. I know if I don't know. I don't know if I had not read that on Tumblr, there are two possibilities of things that may have happened. The first possibility is that I would not have been paying attention. I would not have heard of it because I've listened to so much of the Magnus archives that the click of the recorder does not register with me. Or I would have been paying attention a little bit more when I listened to it. When I first listened to it, I was just on my bed staring at the ceiling listening to it. I would have been paying attention and I would have heard the click and I'd be like, hello? But I don't know, because I got spoiled. This is why I need to try to make these as soon as possible. However, work was hell. It's a Sunday. Anyways, tape recorder clicks on, which, oh god, I didn't write this down. We're going to die trade now. The recorders are aspects of the web. Now, we know that the recorders were there to record the things that happened within the Magnus Institute because of the web. They're not connected to the eye, okay? Oh my god, I forgot about this too. Oh my god, I have to recontextualize some stuff. And the recorders are controlled by Annabelle Cain or the web in and of itself. Now, does that mean this is how Annabelle Cain can still win? Yes. But if she's not, then it's just the web in and of itself, which we haven't had a web statement yet that I know of. No prevailing imagery of spiders and no prevailing imagery of loss of control besides Taking the Judgments episode 2. But that's still pretty weak in my eyes. So a tape recorder clicking on, to me, says that the web at least is there, or Annabelle Cain, or whatever aspect of the web that is there in this there's so many unknowns here, but the tape recorders mean something really, really important. Which means I have to recontextualize some things, but it's fine. Scene 5 continues. Sam and Alice are trying to get into a room. He breaks open the door. It's like rotten. It looks like an office with a name block on it. And Alice asks, who's Archie? And I went straight into my brain. I was like, okay, who is named Archie, Archibald, or whatever? And then Sam says Archipelago, and I was like, it's Archivist. It's Archivist, come on. And then Alice was like, is that the first thing you think of? Which is what made me think, oh, it's the Occam's razor. It's Archivist. Sam's like, I mean, I guess there are books around, so might as well be an archivist. Which, you know, normally, I mean, them reading Archivist in an office is normal. We're not in a normal world. But whatever. They also mention patterns of worms on the floor, worm tracks, or sarcastically at least, symbols of ancient otherworldly power, which, Alice, you don't know how close you are. And Sam almost falls through like a pit, and he drops a key. Alice takes him out and like helps him, and he's like really dejected. He's like, he had memories of weird stuff happening in the Institute, and he just wanted to like know more. But they didn't find anything, so they leave, dejected on not finding stuff. And then there's like some silence. No, not silence. There's no like voices. It's just sounds of water and like bugs. Sounds like bugs. Could be spiders. Could be spiders. We don't know. I don't know. I don't have a visual. I don't know how spiders sound. What's a folly sound for spiders? I don't know. That also sounds like a centipede. Or it could be a bug. It could be a beetle. You know the most average animal is a beetle? It could have been a beetle. I do not know. So, insects. There's insects there, I guess. It's underground. There's ruins. Of course there's going to be insects. Are they spiders? I don't know. Whatever. There's no sound. There's just water. There's just insects. And then there's like some thudding and some dragging. I could not understand listening to it myself. I had to use the transcript to be able to understand what is happening. And apparently, the key that Sam dropped is dragged out. Apparently, a padlock is like touched, fingered, and the key is inserted into the padlock. You know, if there's a key, there's a lock. And it says, error, emerges from the trapdoor and takes a shuddering breath. And I'm like, and so obviously, so the transcript names it error. And so I remember reading somewhere on Tumblr saying how people wanted Rusty Quill has been putting more effort into the transcripts because so that people who have difficulty hearing, difficulty understanding things that they cannot like see, like me, can consume the media as well as anyone else. And so they put out the transcripts pretty soon after the episodes to be an accessibility option. And so the transcripts are very important to an aspect of understanding the story. That's how we got Klaus's name, because Klaus is not named in the episodes. Klaus is not named by anybody, I believe. Actually, that's wrong. I don't know. I think Gwen maybe mentions Klaus to Lena, or Lena mentions Klaus to Gwen when Gwen's trying to blackmail her, but I can't be sure about that. But either way, some things are not mentioned, but are seen through the transcript, such as Klaus's name. And here, it is labeled error. So in the transcript, the scene directions, there are brackets, and the bracket, within a bracket, is error. So bracket, error, close bracket, opens the trapdoor, whatever. So we know now that there is an error, which is great. And that's the end of the episode. Notes. I don't really have any comments on the interview, on the statement itself. It's a fine interview, funny, scary, alludes to some things. My thing with some of the statements in the Magnus Protocol is that the quote-unquote scary part happens like pretty late, and the majority of it is not anything is just setup and build up. It's good setup and build up, but it's not like full setup and build up. Like it's not fully scary. But that, it's just me. Atmosphere goes a long way, and it's really hard to build atmosphere. So at least they're doing that. So Mr. Bonzo, the suit, whatever, to me, is either Stranger or Slaughter. These connections are so much more loose than the other statements. Like, this is a really hard, like, episode to try to pinpoint, like, an entity if there is one. So, like, let me know what you guys think Bonzo is, because I don't know. But I think Stranger and Slaughter. Stranger, obviously, because it's a suit. Different people wear the suit. Different people wear the mask. The name stuff, the not knowing the name. I do not know you. Feels very Stranger to me. Slaughter, obviously, killing, murder, death, stuff like that. They're both pretty loose. So I'm open to suggestions as to what Mr. Bonzo may be. Also wanted to shout out, this felt very similar, not exactly 100%, but it felt similar in terms of themes and ideas with the man in the suit analog horror on YouTube that I watched. That's about a guy who cannot get unstuck from the Godzilla costume that he wears. It was pretty good. I watched it with my boyfriend. It's interesting. It's short at least. So and it had similar ideas and really terrifying imagery at points, and that is just feels similar to this sort of idea. Also, I didn't write it down, but I did remember seeing on Tumblr someone sending an ask to Johnny Sims, asking like, "Are you going to do anything similar to Five Nights at Freddy's in the Magnus Protocol?" And he basically said, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically said, like, yes and no. Not really, like, animatronics and stuff like that, but I do like mascot horror, and mascot horror is something that we wanted to incorporate, and that's what we did. Mascot horror, things like incorporating, like, Five Nights at Freddy's, Adventures with Amanda or something like that, Bendy, what's that furry blue one? Playtime Puppy, something like that. So he mentioned that, and so I was really excited. And so when I saw the episode come out and it said Saturday night, and I just saw mascot kids murder, the first thing I thought of for some reason was I didn't think of Saturday Night Live. I thought of Saturday Night Lights. I think is the sports the like Saturday, like football, American football thing. Is that a thing? I feel like I've seen that before. I thought it was gonna be that, and I thought it was gonna be like a mascot for like the sports doing stuff, and that would have been pretty fun. But what we got was still pretty fun as well. I did not expect a TV host mascot type horror, so that was a nice sort of like surprise. And so we got the answer to my question as to like the wording of like Lena giving Gwen a letter with a name and an address, because I remember I thought, is she saying that the name and the address is where Lena should go, or what? And no, yeah, Lena sent Gwen to go to Nigel Dickerson and give him the letter, which has a name and address, which she gives to Bonzo, and he eats. I'm a little confused, kind of, as to what Colin is paranoid about. It moves like really quickly because we only really see like he gets more and more like paranoid that he's being watched, at least. But there's nothing that shows us that he is or isn't being watched. Like, there's lack of evidence for me. I have to like read it through again, see what I can parse out. Some things just moved, have like too little of amount of time to breathe for me, and so I need to make sure that like I'm understanding exactly why he's being paranoid. Something I also was confused about, but I did research pretty quickly, was that Sam was at the Institute prior, and I don't really understand that, because I remember episode 8 running on empty when Sam and Celia meet Jerry. He mentioned that he was part of the gifted program. I thought that was a lie. But no, in episode 1, he says, well, at least he says that when he gets the canaries should stay above Earth statement. He says it was a blast from the past in episode 1. And then episode 8, he says he was part of the gifted program, which I thought was a lie. I thought it was a name. Well, he obviously got Jerry's name from the letter. So I thought that was just his idea, like whatever. But that is actually true. I guess he was part of the gifter program, and he was trying. And when he was trying to like look for people, whatever, he mentioned to Jerry that like I found a list of people and I wanted to like reconnect and talk about stuff, which I think that is a lie, because he got Jerry's name from the email that he got from John. But I feel like he would have found Jerry anyways if he was able to find like a list of names of gifted people. I would assume that there'd be some sort of public information about that, but given that the Magnus Institute was destroyed and creepy weird stuff, probably not. Either way, things tend to work out. But yeah, he actually was part of the Magnus Institute. I did not really recognize it. I didn't really know that. And then, in episode 9, he also says that I genuinely think that there might have been something really weird going on there. To Alice, talking about he says when he says that, I thought he was referencing to the first episode, the statement about the canaries, but no, that makes sense after this episode that he's actually talking about him being there in of itself. I wish they would have explicitly said something along those lines. At least like once being like, yeah, I used to go there, and Alice would have been like, haha, Bigfoot joke or whatever. I don't know, but either way, I kind of wish they would have pushed that a little bit more. Either way, that clears up some confusion for me at least, which is good. Some ramblings about like Bonzo, like many people wearing the suit may have changed it. It may be that like the suit itself begins to take on its own form. Terrence, I don't know where Terrence Benke comes into that. Might have been like a copy of a copy turns bad, etc. The voice actor for Bonzo is uncredited. I thought it was saying some stuff and I couldn't really understand it. But no, it was just saying Bonzo all over again, again and again. And I just couldn't understand what he was saying. It looks like Bonzo is killing people for the OIAR. Why and for what? We don't know. We shall see. Worm tracks. So this is a little conspiracy theorist of me, but they mentioned worm tracks at least twice, and for me, I think when I think of alternate realities, alternate dimensions, stuff like that. I think of parallel events occurring, right? Like, we always have, like, this version of me in this universe who has, like, longer hair, or has, like, blue eyes, or is blonde, naturally. And, I always think of like those parallel things that keep repeating and stuff like that. And Magnus Institute in London versus Magnus Institute in Manchester, parallel things, but just slightly different. I don't know how far away Manchester is from London, but either way. Also, hold on. Hey y'all, do we think that the OIAR is placed in the exact same place where the Magnus Institute in London was? I think so. I think that would be really interesting and neat. Does it change any of the story? Not really. But I think the OIAR is on the same soil that Institute was in London. Anyways, parallel events, worm tracks. There may have. I'm thinking that maybe this was an attack from this version of a Jane Prentice or Corruption Avatar, and a fire was set off to kill the worms. So obviously, fire is a prevailing idea in terms of not just the desolation, but also things that can actually do stuff to, like, stuff. Fire is a very powerful and destructive thing, and so I can definitely see if the Institute was being attacked by Jane Prentice, they could have set it on fire to defeat it. Yes, that would have burned everything down, but they had no option. That's what it sounds like to me, in a way. Conspiracy theory, in a way. This world's version of Jane Prentice attacked, and they set the entire building down to take her down. Which could explain the worm tracks, unless, of course, the worm tracks are just a red herring or just a creepy detail. I will read every single creepy detail and then be like, oh, this means this creepy detail is how Annabelle Cain can still win. Either way, when they leave and the key's dragged out, we have a brackets error who's trapped in a trap door, who I wrote down that it may be eye related because of the Institute. What would you trap in Magnus? Something related to the eye. What would be in the Magnus Institute? Something related to the eye. Or because it shows up as bracket error, probably something anti-eye like the web or the dark. However, because I just remembered that the tapes are web aligned and not eye aligned, the error might be, it still might be connected to the eye, and it's just a thing that denies itself from being seen by a web entity, such as the tapes. Because we obviously know that we heard this moment through the framing device of the tape for a reason. You know, they're not just gonna show up, have a tape turn on for whatever reason. Like, obviously a tape was placed there, and obviously it's doing something and wants to record something. And because a thing is labeled as error in it, means that there's something working against it. And if it is web aligned, then I can totally see an eye monster, eye creature, eye avatar being able to block the recording from understanding what it is. Which I feel is a lot more scary of something that we cannot comprehend through the tape recorder. We'll see what it pops up as in like normal recording, but tape recorder framing device is important for this moment. Why is it important in this moment? That's a question as to, this moment. We shall see exactly what that means. And then some extra stuff, I guess. The bracket error. I'm just going to call it bracket error. That feels better than just error. Bracket error was voiced by Beth Erie, who prior into the Magnus archives voiced Lucia Wright, who witnessed the last feast, the flesh ritual. But it's unknown and likely not if it's connected to this. Like, Celia being voiced by Lorianne Davis, being the same Celia who was voiced by Lorianne Davis, being the same Lynn Hammond who was voiced by Lorianne Davis, that feels deliberate. To me, Beth Erie voicing the error is more like, this is who we had. Eventually we'll figure something out. And I swear to God, I heard words within the error appearing, but the transcript didn't show anything, so it's not important, ? Unless they're hiding it from us. And if they are, I'm gonna get you guys. But yeah, I don't think Beth Erie voicing Lucia Wright before means anything. It's not like Lucia Wright was trapped in the Magnus Institute after witnessing the flesh ritual because she was important or whatever. It's probably not that. Lorianne Davis, though, Celia knows. Lucia Wright, she's having therapy right now. She's having therapy, and Beth Erie was just there, and I love that for her. And yeah, that was episode 10. This was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, actually, because when I started, I finished the statement. I was like, oh, this is going a great time, and then I had to get into my conspiracy theories, but that's fine. I do know that there is going to be a 4-week hiatus between episodes 10 and 11. They didn't mention anything about like a season, so I don't know if this is like episode 10 was like the end of the season or mid-season or something like that. I can see it being a mid-season sort of thing, especially for the hiatus. So we shall see. If it is mid-season, then that's awesome because that means we have 20 episodes in a season, which fits perfectly within my 4-episode sort of like brackets. But because of that, unfortunately, this episode won't come out. This video won't come out until episode 12 comes out in 6 weeks. So I'm really sorry. It is. I was gonna say, where's my phone? I'm recording it. March 17th, 2023. I will see you for episode 6 in about, 4 weeks? Jesus Christ. And we'll see if our answers... We'll see if our questions are answered. You can take me hard to go. Okay. So, hi. This is me before I record the episode 11 recap and theory time. However, we have an update. So, well, first of all, hello, welcome back. It's been, 4 weeks since the last episode? But for you watching this video, it's been only a few frames. I'm in a different location now. I want to try a different location. Here are I am showing off some of more of my books. These are my roommate's books as well, and some of our D&D minis as well. Ooh, yeah, and these are like my top books. I'm in my living room right now, so I'm just where my most favorite books are displayed. Just I have them displayed. You know what I mean? But anyways, it's been 4 weeks of the hiatus. I need my water. Okay, I got my water. Anyways, there is an update to our theories and an update to how I will be annotating the stuff that I learn. So on Reddit, on the Magnus Archives Reddit user Hylian Persona gave a theory that I liked that fit. And I'm sort of like adjusting it slightly, but still keeping with the ideas. So in terms of the episodes of the Magnus Protocol, all of the episodes have a code to it. We all know the code. For example, Saturday Night with Mr. Bonzo, CAT1RB2275 dash, and then more numbers. We know those more numbers after that first chunk are dates. So that's not something to be confused about. However, the first few numbers prior are something that I have struggled to understand what it means, especially because I kept seeing those same type of numbers and letters repeated for like different things when I was assuming that the description right after the code, where say for example for Bonzo, it is for episode 10, it is a mascot parentheses kids // murder. But I assumed that because the CAT kept repeating, it was just a constant, and then everything after the CAT is like a categorization, and the DPHW is its own self thing. However, Reddit user Hylian Persona had a theory which I liked. So they said that the first chunk, if we take the large first chunk of the code, you can separate it into 3 parts. And they specified the first part, that is CAT, and the number that follows, which I didn't really think of that. I just thought CAT was its own thing, but no. If I look back in the past, all the CATs have a 1, 2, 3 after it, and only a 1, 2, 3. And so their theory was that the CAT is short for categorization or category, cat, and the 1, 2, and 3 connect to a specific idea. And they gave examples to what they thought, and I did like it. So they said that CAT1 is for an avatar, such as an altered person. You see this number appears in the episode for Needles and Mr. Bonzo. CAT2 is for a domain or an altered space, such as the service station and the garden with the phalanges. And CAT3 being like a gift, an altered item, dice, violin, tattoo, etc. Which I like that idea. And so I did some of my own cross-checking just in case. And yeah, episode 2, Making Adjustments, which has the tattoo artist, Ink5ol, has CAT3, which connects to an altered item. Episode 3, Putting Down Roots, the garden has CAT2, a altered domain, altered space. Episode 6, Introductions, has Needle, CAT1, a person that's altered. And also, they mentioned sometimes you do see 2 numbers after CAT before some letters, such as CAT23, which appears in Episode 1, First Shift, which can be for when there is an object and place. For example, Red Canary's box that they find is 3, and then in the Institute ruins, and the ruins are the altered space, CAT2, so it becomes CAT23. And I like that theory a lot, and so I connected also because in rolling with it, we also got classifications within the Magnus Institute in Manchester before, so we got agent, subject, and catalyst. And to me, that fits with avatar, domain, and gift. So CAT1 is agent, CAT2 is subject, and CAT3 is catalyst, which appeared in episode 9, which I added those reclassifications, quote unquote, to Hylian personas theory, because those are the numbers, the words we actually got in lore, in canon. So I will adjust as is, and so CAT1 is for an agent, CAT2 is for a subject, and CAT3 is for a catalyst. And so I commented on the thing on the Reddit post. I'm also curious as to what the rest of the codes mean, and they responded saying that after CAT number is a string of letters, tends to range from like 2 to 3 numbers, and generally it is R followed by A, B, C, or S. And they said that just means that it is rank A, or rank B, or rank C, or rank AB, or rank AC, or rank BC, or rank S. And then I was like, okay, that's great. And then I like commented again and asked, what does the ranks mean? And they never responded. But before that, they also expanded more upon the DPHW. And they said, based on the ARG, which I never played, DPHW is 4 parameters measured from 0 to 9. Those 4 parameters being death, pain, helplessness, and weird. That sounds like TTRPG ability scores. For example, episode 8, Running on Empty, the DPHW is 3366. So death is 3, pain is 3, helpless is 6, and weird is 6, which kind of makes sense. I mean, were they close to dying? Probably, yes. It sounds like a range from 0 to 9 is like no death at all to like maybe a lot of people dying. I don't know. But either way, it is that there was not many death. There was probability of death, but I don't think anyone died in that episode. Pain, I don't know why it's rated 3. I would assume that it's really painful to like fall out of a building. But helplessness 6, that makes sense. That makes sense that it's very helplessness for the person to be stuck in that location like that. And 6 weird, honestly, should be more of that, but I'm not categorizing. I'm just looking at the categorization. So overall, the first chunk of the codes is still a theory as to what they are, but I like this theory, again, by Reddit user Hylian Persona. So I'm going to start making my notes according to this categorization theory. And so you will see for episode 11 how I will do it. But yes, obviously, unfortunately, episodes 9 and 10 will not have that. So we're moving forward with new information. And so we begin with episode 11, marked CAT23RC5246-06012020-11032024. Description: tattoo, parentheses corpse, / compulsion, brackets email exchange. CAT23 is a subject and a catalyst. RC, rank C. I still do not know what ranks are, but at least we know it is a rank C. Death, 5. Pain, 2. Helplessness, 4. Weird, 6. The event of the The date of the event occurred in January 6, 2022, and the catalogization occurred March 11th, 2024. The author of this episode was Jonathan Sims. It aired April 11th, 2020. I wrote 2023, 2024. Brief summary: tattoo on corpse and possible entities, vast or buried. Again, proceeding along with the idea that Smirch 14, the categorization is still here until proven otherwise. We begin in a train station, and Celia sort of like wakes up, I guess, in the train station, and her phone has no signal. To me, it felt like she just woke up all of a sudden and didn't expect to be found there, which if I go into a long sort of run of ideas, I can say like, oh, maybe she's jumping dimensions and just popping up in a random location every other time, which sounds insane, but I can't think of any other thing to connect with that until I get further notice. And then she says, hold on, Jack, I'm on my way. Who is Jack? Who is Jack? I have a Jack at work. That's not him. Who is Jack, Sheila? She knows, and I'm gonna get it out of her. Scene 2 begins with Alice arriving from a coffee run, and Sam is very dejected from the lack of finding anything in the Institute, considering, hey, we got a bracket error, bracket escaping. So you did something. Anyways, they start talking and stuff like that. There's a joke that Alice does that I actually found very funny, which was you have to choose this pastry or this pastry, which I liked. That was really funny. And then Sam playing mind games to get the one he actually wants, the pan de chocolat, pan au chocolat French. That was funny as well. Celia and Gwen are running late, and Alice is glancing at the door, and Sam's like, what's happening? She's like, I feel like I've been being followed. And she keeps dreaming about the ruins, which, no, that's just, that's a cool little detail. That's not going to amount to anything. And Sam begins his next statement, being read out by Chester/John. And it is an email to Allison Leshy to Gordon J., who is working to exhume graves on a cliff edge in Padstown, which is a fishing port in Cornwall, which exists, which I don't know why I was doubting that in the first place, considering everything in the Magnus archives takes place in a real location. But Padstow exists. There's a mention of a David High, who's a medical examiner, who's working with they didn't even give a name for the company. Just Gordy just talks about his he works with the company or whatever. They don't Padstow like ground services like that. There's no official name that I could find. But anyways, he talks about how there's no like protesters because the bodies were buried over like 100 years. Like there would be probably some people protesting about their loved ones' bodies being exhumed without their consent. But the people who are buried here are very, very old, buried a long time ago. There's not many people that are like wanting or like have emotional attachment to them. So most of the bodies were also sailors. Is a detail noted. They are trying to remove the cemetery. They're probably, from what I could tell, it's probably like the cliff side was just eroding away, and so they've got to move these bodies elsewhere, probably to make sure that everyone's safe and stuff like that. And so all of these emails are just from Gordy himself to Allison. We do not get any of Allison's emails, just his response/reaction to the emails, which is a little interesting. I swear to God, when I listened to it, I was like, I swear to God, she did respond at one point, but then I read through the transcript, I was like, I guess I heard wrong or whatever. And so the next email Gordy is just updating Allison on the things that have been happening in the exhibition, and most of the containers are of varied quality. So some bodies are in full coffins, some bodies are not, and so a lot of the times the people that are working there are seeing, touching, and moving human remains directly. But he says, don't worry, because David, the medical examiner, is helping figure that out and make sure nothing is bad or wrong or whatever. He talks about one grave that had a body that was too well preserved. That the body's back was covered in a tattoo of a ship sailing towards a horizon. And they said, Gordy said, if it was buried more recently than 1908, it might become a crime scene. But at least if it does become a crime scene and everything starts to close down, then he'll have some time to rest because he's starting to feel the waves. Hey, Gordy. Hey, Gordy. So the next email, Gordy is sort of complaining to Allison that David isn't responding to his emails or messages about the remains themselves, because I guess Gordy saw the tattoo and was like, "Oh, that's so cool." Gordy mentions that he looked at the pictures again that they took and see that in the tattoo the sun is actually lower, which makes the tattoo less hopeful and more scary. Oh. And there's a shape in the water chasing the boat, which that's a great. I like thalassophobia. Whoa, that's megalophobia. Hello, hello. And then he talks about how this person with a big snake tattoo is asking around the body. Says that the tattoo is an Oscar Jarrett. In terms of saying that the tattoo on the body was made by an Oscar Jarrett, and it has something to do with Sutherland McDonald. And I didn't find this out until after I was looking at trying to find pictures for this episode. So I didn't know this when I was taking notes. However, Sutherland McDonald is a really old, 1800s tattoo artist, or one of the first ones or something like that. I don't know. He tattooed a lot of people who became famous for tattooing. And so I guess it's something similar in terms of that. And as he's talking with Allison, he just keeps talking about the waves crashing. He just keeps hearing about the waves. He keeps feeling the ocean basically calling to him, which is great. In the next email, David has died. He says that at least he's with the sea now, and the deep will care for his bones, which I loved that line a lot, the way it was delivered as well, which to me feels like it's a suicide, or at least he fell from the cliff, which is interesting to note. That's an implication, considering he says with the sea now, so he died in the ocean, drowning, probably jumped off a cliff, fell off the cliff, got pushed off a cliff. One of those is an idea that I have, at least. And then the next email, it's very sarcastically formal. And the next email after that, he says he's being accused of being unprofessional. He can't sleep. He has weird dreams of shapes and waters. Not the movie Shape of Water. That's a really good movie. Watch it. But he's shapes in water, and he really wants to see the body again. He wants to know what's in the water. So we can see Gordy is just mentally degrading, wanting to experience the sea from the tattoo. In the next email, Gordy says it was the inked person who broke into the examiner's office. That he's saying that don't blame me. I didn't break into the medical examiner's office. It was that person over there with the ink and the snake ink tattoo. And he says that, quote, "It belongs to the deep. I swear the ocean will claim us all." In terms of if he doesn't get the body back. And I can taste the salt and spray. It's waiting in the water. And then his email is dead. Is it blocked, or did the email just die with him or something like that? One of those two. But yes, it's waiting in the water. Terrifying, thank you. In scene 3, Sam asked Alex if you can like cross-reference stuff, similar to like other statements. But Alice tells him, stop thinking about that. Stop thinking about cases. Many times before, she's done the same thing, not in terms of wanting to obscure stuff, but of wanting to avoid questions or something like that. Like make him stop going insane, because she says that people go a little crazy with these statements. So you have to take a step away from that to be mentally okay. And then Gwen arrives late. She looks so hazard. She says the tube was delayed, and she has had trouble sleeping. And Gwen, surprised Alice got her coffee, which I didn't understand because I wasn't paying attention. But Sam had given her Celia's mocha, because in the beginning of the episode, when Alice arrives with the coffee order, she says, "I got Celia a mocha, and I hope to pretend that Gwen believes me when I say that I forgot to get her something." But because of their argument, Gwen thinks Alex got her the mocha, and Sam's like, "Do you like mocha?" And she's like, "Yes." And so that is him manipulating them into being good friends. Sam, I know what you're doing. Sam is going to become an avatar of the web. Sam is going to manipulate everyone. Sam is going to be the BEEG. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going with. Oh, I have a chair here. And then Gwen asks about Lena, and Alice is like, "Yeah, she's here." But at the same time, Celia bursts in, and Gwen starts berating her about being late, and Celia says there was an emergency at home. Celia says that there was a radiator spring in the leak and flooded the lounge. Now, here was when I noticed it. There's a small distortion in the recording as she said that.
One of my radiators sprung a leak and flooded the lounge.
I see.
We'll get back to that, but I wanted to note this is when I found that. And there's a distortion when she said there was an emergency at home, and also about the radiator. That's it also. And then Gwen just gets up to talk to Lena. And then in scene 4, we have Gwen confronting Lena, saying that Bonzo had skin and not a costume, and she's seen Bonzo so many times when she was younger, and that is not Bonzo, because Bonzo does not have skin. And Lena says he's one of the more grotesque externals, but a valuable asset. Does Bonzo get paid? Does Bonzo have a 401k? Does Bonzo have paid leave? And Lena says, well, he didn't kill you, so you passed probation, which is great. Good for Gwen. She also said screaming helps coping with the job, and they like it. And talking about, I guess, Bonzo, but also the other externals. Once we meet the other externals, and Gwen asked what was in the envelope, and Lena says it's a name and an address. You know what it was for, sort of implying someone to die. And Gwen is like, but who or what or whatever, and Lena says, just wait. You'll probably hear it in the caseload. So here's to hoping that next episode we hear about a Bonzo Vor. Bonzo Vor. Notes. Who is Jack? Celia, who is Jack? Celia, why were you sleeping in a train station? It feels like it was a surprise to wake up there. Like, are you teleporting into like different locations or something like that? Is that just what you do now, Celia? You got your fake name now, Celia? And you think you know everything? Got your degree? Alice is being followed by something from the ruins. That's it. I'm just calling it right now. She's being followed by something from the ruins. I mean, it's the eye. It's the fulcrum area of the eye. Obviously, she's being followed by something from the ruins, and that little detail is an actual thing, and just trying to prime us for something that is coming. The emails that we get are only from Gordy, so it's one side of the story. I think it's a really interesting way to tell that story, considering we don't have everything from Alice, and so every sort of development is still a sort of like a surprise, such as when David died, such as when Gordy was accused of unprofessionality, or when someone broke into the examiner's office. The tattoo is likely connected to the vast, or probably less probably the buried. I say the buried because of deep water and high pressure, but there was no focus on that at least. But the vast is definitely like talks about like large spaces, oceans. Like I said, thalassophobia and megalophobia. That's connected to the vast a lot. So we all are in agreement that this is ink 5 right? We're in agreement that this is ink 5 they come back. They knew about an Oscar Jarrett, who, to me, that is starting to prime us for an idea similar to Robert Smirk and his architecture, talking about people in the past who dealt with the fears in their own way and courted the fears using their art form, their work, or whatever, such as Robert Smirk with his architecture and Oscar Jarrett with his tattooing. I have written down no idea who Sutherland McDonald is. Now I know who that is. However, to me, so my theory, my small little theory here is that Oscar Jarrett either apprenticed under or apprenticed Sutherland McDonald, and so one or the other learned from the other, or whatever. But Oscar Jarrett is. I have to look up if he's actually a real person, actually. But if he's not a real person, because Robert Smirk, did you know Robert Smirk is an actual person? I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I was on Tumblr and someone talking about Robert Smirk, the actual architect, and I was like, what? He's real? I have to look up if Oscar Jarrett is a real person, but Sutherland McDonald definitely is, and so yeah, I'm just saying that in the past, Oscar Jarrett probably courted the fears and used tattoo stuff to do stuff, and now Ink 5 I'm not calling them Ink Soul. No, Ink 5 Ink 5 probably is learning from past Oscar Jarrett artwork to deal with the fears and stuff like that. Also, compulsion was an idea thrown around, in my head at least, for episode 2, making adjustments where Ink 5 comes from. In terms of not feeling like you need to do something, aka, what was her name? Davia keeping to changing her body, and she just can't stop it. The compulsion idea is there as well. So there's also maybe an idea of the web, maybe. But I'm sticking with a tattoo artist deals with the fears. Gwen is not sleeping because of fear. She's just afraid. She just can't sleep because of stuff. And I really feel for her. Bouchards, I believe in Bouchard supremacy. Externals are avatars, question mark. If we know that Bonzo is an external, we would assume that he is the most extreme external that we have out there, considering like the world. Any other external might probably be like an avatar of one of the fears. So we shall see what happens in the next episode. This was a really good episode. I like this one a lot, and I am looking forward to what happens next. Now I'll be moving ahead knowing what to actually categorize everything as. So I will see you in episode 12. Okay, listen, this is going to be a learning process, okay? Since I got this new microphone, I'm learning so many things. For one, I shall hold it pretty not that close. You can see how this sounds like when it's really close to me. Also not that far because you can't hear me at all. And I shouldn't, it'll catch all this. That's fine. I can hold these both separately. Anyways, episode 12, getting off. I was trying to find 4 specific locations to film, and because one of them I had to film with like me left flush instead of right flush like I usually like, I had to find a different place. And so here we're going to be showing off my boyfriend's wonderful architecture section model, and some maps I had for a different TTRPG I played. And I thought I had like a 4th color of highlighter, but I don't. So now it's just going to be a marker. So yes, hi, episode 12, getting off. CAT1RB4728-09032024- 1303-2024. The classification is mascot parentheses kids // frenzy, and it is an insurance claim. CAT1 category is agent, aka Bonzo, and it is rank B. Death 4, pain 7, helplessness 2, weird 8. And this occurred March 9th, 2024, and the categorization is March 13th, 2024. My thoughts on the DPHW, so it says here death is 4, which is like, we had someone who actually died, so I don't know what the range is for the coding from 0 to 9. Helplessness is 2, so does that mean really helpless or not helpless at all? You know, pain 7, yeah, arm, hand got cut off. Weird 8, yeah, very weird. So definitely weird, something weird happened here. And I'll obviously get into it, but yes, the DPHW is I'm trying to like understand why they're ranging in those numbers. Alexander J. Newell wrote this. This aired April 18th, 2024. Today! Hell yeah! I was able to do this. I'm getting this out so soon. And a brief summary. Bonzo attacks a bachelor party. Possible entities are the flesh and the slaughter. So in scene 1, we begin. Celia is very tired. She's looking for some tea. Because tea has caffeine in it, which I didn't know until I took an ethnobotany class in sophomore year of college. Sam asks Celia out after he finds her some tea, but she needs to sort some things out first. What does that mean? What are you sorting out? They decide to have their date at 6 on Saturday at Leisure. They said it. I'm not gonna try to replay it to see how they actually say it. But it's like Leicester Square, but they pronounce it like Leicester Square. British people. For breakfast. Alice arrives just as Celia is leaving in the break room. Again, it's the break room, not the bathroom. She teases Sam about his having no riz. In this like awkward moment, Sam thanks Alice for going with him to the ruins, and he lies and says that he's done with Magnus stuff. Which I know is a lie, because when Alice jokes and says, oh, if I had an email that said confidential information or whatever, you wouldn't check it. And he says, nope. There's a little tick in the recording, which now I'm trying to focus more on. I am going through a re-listen of the entirety of the Magnus archives, but it's going to take me a lot more. But I did put all of the episodes into like a playlist on Spotify, and I'm randomizing it because that's fun for me. And now the Magnus Protocol episodes are in there. So when the Magnus Protocol episodes cycle through, I will try to pay attention to see if there's any like distortions in the audio when people are talking in the OAR, to see if they are caught lying or not. In the Magnus archives OG proper, like John's power was that he could make people tell the truth. And it is an obvious sort of extension of, if John is in the computer, he can detect when someone is lying. Which is these distortions, which I enjoy a lot. In scene 2, we have Norris/Martin reading out a statement. It's an insurance statement by Miss Jordan Bennett. The date of the incident, it was March 9th, which is the same night as episode 10's Saturday night. That episode wasn't Saturday night. It was just called the episode was called Saturday Night. You know what I mean? And yeah, this happened the same night as Gwen went to talk to Mr. Bonzo, which is like, he moves quickly. So Mrs. Bennett is like, I'm just doing this insurance thing because my lawyer said I should. But anyways, she talks about how she got this job at a strip club. It's Soho Jack's or something like that. And one night she's working in a room, and other men come in, presumably for a like bachelor party. I keep on saying bachelorette party, but it's bachelor party. And they start giving gifts to the groom, Where's my water? Gifts to the groom, yes. And while they're giving gifts, they find a cheap yellow and purple kid's lunchbox. And inside it is a bunch of like paraphernalia of like the kids show. Was it Nigel's SOS? They don't mention Nigel's SOS, but I assume it's connected to that, obviously. And inside it is a CD case, and no one admits to bringing it. No one admits to bringing the CD case or the lunchbox. It just happened to appear there, and they're just very happy about it. They're like joking about it. Oh my god, it's Mr. Bonzo. It's yeah, it's our childhood. You know, it's very nostalgic sort of ideas. But yeah, no one admits to bringing it. And so, did I even talk about it now? Yeah, I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it later when I talk about my theories for Mr. Bonzo. So they have Bennett play the CD, and it's Mr. Bonzo's On His Way theme song with the lyrics quote, "He wants to stay, he wants to play. Bonzo's on his way, he wants to stay, he wants to play. Bonzo's on his way, he wants to stay, he wants to..." And Bennett lets it play on for like a while, but then after a while she gets tired and she stops it before her manager Derek comes down to like stop it himself. But the music just grows louder. She even goes as far as ripping out the cord for the speakers, and it still does not stop the music. It just keeps getting louder and louder. And that means that Bonzo is on his way. All of a sudden, a large creature, man, thing, it arrives, and it's Bonzo. But the way she describes it is just ugly, bad, disgusting monster with like a huge hat that reflects doesn't reflect it, like shields its face from the light, and so it makes it look even more sinister because of that. And she goes to she hears a crash, so she goes outside, and that's when she sees Bonzo there. And she goes to yell at the bouncer, Joey, because last time Joey left and some people like barged in and he got in trouble because of that, and she had to deal with that. But now she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to deal with this now." And then she goes, sees the bouncer, and the bouncer's legs are on the floor, dead. Allegedly, supposedly, that's what I'm assuming. And yeah, the men there just start talking, like cheering, like, "Oh my god, it's Bonzo." And one of them says, "It's the lap dance, Baz." So I'm still gonna call the groom, but his name's something related to Baz Luhrmann or something like that. I don't know, not the director, but like Baz is his name or nickname or something like that. So I'll keep an eye on that for later. And still no one is like saying like, "Oh my god, yeah, I got someone to wear a Bonzo costume or whatever." Everyone's like, "Yeah, this thing you saw, yeah, it was one of you guys, right? Yeah, this is great." They're obviously not very smart about that, and they're just cheering along with Bonzo. Bennett tries to get her walkie-talkie to call for like support, but all she hears on the walkie-talkie is Mr. Bonzo theme music. And she tries to yell at them to like leave, that she's gonna call the cops, but no one is listening to them. When she does notice the legs, Bonzo turns to her and puts his finger up to his mouth, and he says, "Shh." Does he actually shush her, or just puts his something, whatever, finger up to the mouth, and he takes the groom's arms and rips them off, puts his hands in his mouth, and uses his other hand to rip open his face. And then he just keeps bashing his body on the ground. The men begin fighting Bonzo. There's a distinct detail where like a broken bottle rips open one of the boils that's on Mr. Bonzo, and it just spurs out like a viscous liquid. And Bonzo just keeps destroying the body, and then eventually just eats it. It's great. Just great. And after he eats the body, everyone's just sort of like staring. The music is still blaring, but it's more distorted. It does not sound like children anymore. It's just a lot of weird music happening. And it's alluded to that this happened, but Bennett only says in the insurance claim that she dreams about Bonzo tearing through the people to try to get to her, eventually eating her hand. Whether that is actually what happened or not, I'm not sure. However, I think it's safe to assume that something very close to that happened, and that's how Bonzo ate her hand. Also probably kills all the men there as well, or at least some of them. At least one other man died for the kill count. Wink. And she says she doesn't know why Bonzo let her live, which is a thing a lot of the times that we see in horror as to like why did I survive or etc. like that, and especially in the Magnus Archives and Magnus Protocol, because Magnus Archives and presumably the Magnus Protocol deals with the fears. It's more so at least one person let live, because once they die, you do not have that fear anymore. And it's sort of like weird dream logic that someone has to tell the story. And this is sort of the idea of like Bonzo probably let her live because someone needs to tell his story, its story. Have I been referring to Bonzo with a he? Bonzo has pronouns. Bonzo is an it. It probably left Bennett alive so that she can tell its story and she can hold fear for it, thus allowing it to keep surviving because of the fear that drives it. Does that make sense? That's why I'm thinking that's why she's left alive, because so she could do this insurance claim so that the OIAR could collect this on the information, and so that the eye people inside Freddy can eat it up and get more powerful and teach people in the OIAR about the world. Conspiracy board. And yeah, she's just gonna sue the tavern because no one helped. Mama, I don't think anyone could have helped. I think anyone who would have showed up would have gotten eaten alive. But anyways, scene 2 begins with Gwen reacting to the statement. She was the one who got the statement on her computer. And Alice gets actually slightly worried when Gwen is not her, like she's not taking her bait to be angry or whatever. Like she's like, "Are you actually fine?" Which I like that. Alice was like goading her on, and when she didn't respond and she was actually like out of it, Alice was like, "You good, girl?" Which tells me that Alice is a very annoying character, but because of the circumstances, and she is actually a good person, and she just like does not like the position she's in, and she's trying to make the best out of it, which tends to annoy other people, annoy me. But I like her despite that. And Gwen tells Alice that she met at one of those externals, and Alice is like, "Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know that those people are like really annoying or whatever." She's like assuming externals being some sort of like shareholder or something like that, or like bureaucrat. And Alice is like, "Do you know what we actually do here? Do you know, like, we're doing something bad?" And Alice is like, "Yes, I know exactly what's happening here." And when I was listening to this, I was like, "You do?" But no, she goes on to a joke. She always finds the easiest joke to go with, and I love that for her. And she's like, "Oh yes, we work for the most," what was it she said? "Most unspeakable evil known to mankind, the UK government," which, living in Central Florida in the United States of America. Alice, I get you. Alice, I get you. And that's the episode ending. Notes. Celia is not sleeping well, which means she's doing something that's not letting her sleep, possibly connected to her waking up in the train station like she did, aka like she's investigating, or she's actually teleporting through different dimensions and just finds herself in a different location every time she comes to this dimension. Perhaps. So yeah, she's obviously getting tired of something, and I can't wait to know what it is. We're finally getting the office comedy that everyone wanted for Magnus Archives. No, it's not going to be Tim and Sasha and Martin and John and Elias being in an office and being funny, but it is Alice and Sam and Celia dealing with interpersonal drama, while Gwen is having the worst time of her life. Bonds with either slaughter or flesh. Obviously, if we continue with the Smurfs 14, so 15, which we have no confirmation whether or not. Bonzo keeps eluding me as to where to place it. And so Slaughter of Flesh feels very close to me in the motifs that it deals with, specifically because Smurfs 14 has a lot of motifs that are repeating, like the dark, murky water in the dark, or the earthen smell for the buried, or fire for the desolation. And here, there's the continued motif of music, and Bonzo appeared during the music of his theme song, and the music was being overpowering and doing weird stuff. Thus, I can see a connection from music to Bonzo to the slaughter. Or, if we continue with same types of motifs, Bonzo could be the flesh, because he ate the body. He ate the body of the groom Baz. Second, there's a large focus, specifically in Bennett's statement on when she's talking about her dreams, of his teeth and being consumed or being eaten by Bonzo. Its teeth, not his. Jesus Christ, he doesn't have pronouns. And I can see Bonzo being the flesh for that sort of motif. Yet, still, there are inconsistencies for the motifs for the slaughter and the flesh. Anyways, generally, in terms of the slaughter, it is a loss of control, such as a loss of control mixed with an expression of emotion with the slaughter, aka Grifter's Bone, aka Nemesis and the Trumpets, aka the Piper, making people want to go to war. Here we only see one person enacting the violence, and it does not seem like a loss of control. It seems more just a mission in a way, quote unquote. So there's a disconnect there for the slaughter for me. And then for the flesh in of itself, the way that Bonzo described is not specifically about meat. Its body is definitely fleshy, flesh-like, flesh skin, but there's no like prevailing motif of meat, which is a big motif for the flesh. Now, if we're changing motifs for Smurfs 14 for this place, for this dimension, quote unquote, I would support that, aka needles for the desolation, changing a motif of fire to just pain from the needles or something like that. Of course, this is all speculation. It's all speculative, so I am just saying things just to say things, I guess. We shall see if I'm right or not. Finally, Gwen is beginning to doubt the Institute, the OIR, and begins to doubt what she's doing, which I'm excited for, because that means she's going to ask more questions, which means we're going to get more answers. And that's the end of this episode. I like this episode. I was a little slightly tad disappointed because I expected for more answers, which we didn't get, but it's still pretty good for it because we got more of Mr. Bonzo. I wanted more answers, obviously, but they're still holding off on that. We still have a lot more episodes to go through. And this is just another, yes, finally we have an actual statement of what Bonzo does to people, because that was actually a question that I had, at least. But it was a very good thing to know exactly what happens, specifically because when Gwen gave the letter that had the name and the address in it and gave it to Bonzo, and Bonzo ate it, that probably means that the letter had Baz's name and the address was his home, or was it the strip club, which means that there's some sort of premonition that needs to be done priorhand to know where these people are going to be. And when she feeds the letter to Bonzo, I can see it in my mind. as if I was directing it, as I was watching it, as if I was watching it. As she feeds it into his mouth, in the bachelor party, the lunchbox appears. And none of it notices, and just the things happen according to one another because of dream logic. And the music appears, summons Bonzo. And so that sort of idea of like, it's that weirdness is really fun for me. And so we finally have what Bonzo does. Was that a true question that we needed answering? No, we could have suspected. But we have an actual visceral explanation of it, and that is still better than nothing. And we still have so many episodes to go through, and I'm very excited for that. I did want to talk about the new characters that I added into the characters list. I wasn't going to show it full like I did in the past as I was talking about the characters, because that was just going to be complicated for me. But first, characters in the OIAR team and outside. Episode 9, we get the first mention of Nigel Dickerson, whose voice actor is Steve Newman, who's a disgraced TV host of Saturday Night on 6. Saturdays on 6. That's it. Who's credited as Mr. Bonzo. Other people we have in the OIAR outside. Episode 10, Mr. Bonzo. Uncredited voice actor for the moment that he appeared in scene and not like in the past. Who's a monster living with Nigel Dickerson, who's eating letters with names and addresses. We see where that went. And in the same episode 10, there is Error. His voice actor is Beth Erie, which escaped from the ruins of the Magnus Institute. Is Error the thing that is following Alice? We shall see. In episode 11, we have Jack, just a name Jack, as mentioned by Celia when she wakes up from the train station. Nothing else about Jack. And then characters within the statements. We have episode 9, Rolling With It. We have the Dice Man, who has magic 2d6 that are artifacts of the end, allegedly, supposedly. And Gary, who was the original owner of the magic 2d6. Some people online said that he was a reference to Gary Gygax, who was the creator of AD&D, creator of something. Yeah. Episode 10, Saturday Night. We have Geraldine Hardy, whose voice actor is Catherine Luffy, who's a TV host who's cheery. And Gotthard Rambeau, who is a famous chef who broke Mr. Bonzo's arm in the first place. And Terrence Menke, who is a serial killer who killed 11 people, 11 bodies at least were found, and wore a Mr. Bonzo costume when he was arrested. In episode 11, marked, we have Alison Leshy, who is a Cornwall council, who's on the Cornwall council government. Gordon Allen Johnson, aka Gordy, who is a groundskeeper. We have David, who's a Pedstown medical examiner. We have Oscar Jarrett, who is an old tattoo artist. We don't really know anything about him. Sutherland McDonald, I have written unknown, but now I know he's a real person. And then episode 12, getting off this episode, we have Miss Jordan Bennett, who worked in Soho Jacks Ltd. And had her hand bitten off by Bonzo. Derek, who's the manager at Soho Jacks. The groom, who's killed by Bonzo, who goes by Baz. And Joey, who's a bouncer at Soho Jack, who's also killed by Bonzo. So those are the new characters added onto our roster. So we shall see if any of them return, like in the future. But yes, anyways, I'm so glad that I'm able to put this video out for all 4 episodes. If you got to this long, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share with your friends. I will be, of course, making the next Magnus Protocol episode will be after episode 13, 14, 15, 16. And keep an eye out for that. And I'm also having some projects that I'm going to be hopefully starting soon. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Stay away from, well, usually I say stay away from worms, but stay away from Mr. Bonzo. You don't want to be near it. Mr. Bonzo has pronouns.